Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and I am continuing my build here of the Estes Sentinel. So the bottom fins, that was a mess. They are on, and they are actually pretty well aligned. Go figure. I really did not expect that to be the case, but you know, I end up using my grid here, and they're pretty well aligned anyway. They look passable, so good enough. It's time to move on, and I think what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to put the motor mount in. Before I actually try to get this in, I should really sand it a little bit because it looks a little, I don't know, a little dodgy. So let's actually move this over here, give myself a little more space, and I'm just going to run sandpaper around this just to kind of smooth things up a little bit here. There seem to be a couple kind of ugly looking rough spots in this. And we don't want to sand this too hard, of course, because it should be a pretty snug fit going in, but it does need to go in. And if it is too rough, then that might not happen. It is a little ragged, I have to say. I'm actually going to run sandpaper on top of this, try to get some of that, whoops, off. Looks better. Alright, so always a good idea to test fit first. The first part goes in no problem. That second part, yeah, the second part's a little stiff. There we go. Looks, ooh, sorry. That was a bad sound. And again, because one's not good enough. Alright, so that should fit. I'm not terribly worried about that. So this is going to end up going in, and the instructions, let's just make sure we got this right. We are supposed to have this with the tubes flush, not the hook, right? So the blue part is going to be lined up with the end of the main body tube. Alright, so let's get some glue, and we'll get my dowel. So just kind of eyeballing this. Well, this is 2 inches, right? I already measured that. So I need to put the glue in a little shy of 2 inches for this, and then I'm going to put some glue right along the edge. Now, there's definitely a correct way to do this. So in theory, I should have put the glue inside and then have the engine mount tipped up like this, and then apply a little bit of glue on the inside here and then push it in like that. The reason for that is if you put both glues in at the same time, then you're going to end up, the leading edge here is just going to push all the glue supposedly up. I'm not completely convinced that's the case. I would like to think that there's some glue left for this, the second part to push. But honestly, for a model rocket that's going to use 18mm motors, I'm not really concerned about that. Probably the glue on the front is more than enough to hold things in. But once I put this in anyway, I can definitely put a fillet on it, and that should be adequate. So I'm not going to take the time to do that approach. I mean, this is better, no doubt, but I'm not going to worry about that. Alright, so anyway, glue. Let's glue. Let's make sure my glue is not clogged. There we go. That should be plenty. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this about 2 inches in. So that should be this far. And just paint some glue on the inside. It's easy enough to see because the glue is shiny. Because it's wet, and the rest of the rocket hopefully is neither wet nor shiny on the inside. Okay, a little bit more. Delightful. Let's get that out of here. And then I am just going to put the next bit on, and this should be, it's not going to be right at the end. In fact, it's fairly far in. It's about ½ inch in. So I'm going to kind of estimate that again. But again, I'm going to put a fillet on this anyway, so we're not going to worry about that too much. Instructions say to line the engine hook up with the launch lug. I'm not really sure why, to be honest with you. I think it's aesthetic more than anything else, but we can definitely do that. Push, and then I'm going to go slowly here and make sure that I've stopped pretty much flush here. You can use your finger to make any final adjustments if you didn't quite push it in hard enough or far enough. So that looks pretty good. Hook's lined up. Then let's take a peek down here. Yeah. I am going to then do my best to create a fillet. Now, this tube's so high, or so long, it's going to be hard for me to get a fillet. I'm going to have to kind of drizzle the glue in there. And I don't think I'm really going to be able to show that particularly well, but I can try. The glue, the nice thing about the glue is it coheres too, right? It sticks to itself. So you can kind of drag it along. It doesn't just fall straight down like water would. Alright, so that's kind of in there. It's not great. I'm going to use my stick here to kind of smear it. And again, this is not a great fillet by any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of the best I can do here. My fingers aren't fitting in there, that's for sure. Alright, kind of a mess, but it does seem to go around, so good enough. Ow, that's pretty sharp. Yeah, alright. Alright, so that's fine. Yeah, that's good enough. Now, the other thing I want to do in this video is I'm going to attach these fins. Now, here's hoping that this goes better than the main fins, and it really should. These things, they have, again, a whole lot of gluing surface area, but very little fin surface area. And my nozzle's clogged. Let's clean that up. So there's going to be a lot of glue holding things in place. Probably be helpful if I actually had the glue bottle open. Yipes. I am going to take the time to do 2 layers of glue on this, though. That's my general rule for that. Is if it's a fin, it's going to get the 2-layer approach. If it's not, then it doesn't. I mean, I don't always hold fast to that rule, but it seems like a fairly good policy. It hasn't really let me down so far. Alright. The other good thing about this is I'm not going to really have to worry about alignment too much. Yeah, I'm going to have to align it, you know, front to back, or other way, I guess, and make sure that it's on pretty straight. But the good news is I already have a built-in guide to see if it is vertically aligned. So I'm not going to try to align them with each other. I am going to align them with the existing fins, and you know, they are as aligned as they are going to be. So hopefully they're pretty well aligned, and if they aren't, well, these fins will, or strakes or whatever you want to call them, they will at least be aligned to the fin that's directly in front of them, and that's probably more important. Alright, so I'm going to get that out of there. This is going to take up a decent amount of space. Alright. So this is pretty long, and I do have to kind of worry about, there we go. Alright, so I've got it. I've got one end aligned, and then I'm just going to kind of roll it forward, and hopefully, it's not quite right. I'm going to bump it while everything's still wet, just to center things. Now, the main risk of this is because it's so long, you could actually warp it in the middle, and, well, warp might not be the right word. You could distort it in the middle if you aren't careful. Like, you could get the front and the back perfectly aligned, but you could push it so that it bows and ends up not being aligned in the middle, which would be annoying and look pretty bad, but it should be pretty obvious whether if you did that when you go to inspect. So that feels pretty good. Smooth out the glue here. Usually I get more glue on the near side, just the way I hold things, but that did not seem to be the case. Alright, so I'm immediately going to check alignment here, and it is a bit askew, so I'm going to bump it up so that it is in line with the fin below, and you can have a look what I'm doing. Whoops, off the camera. It should be lined up pretty well. If it's not, well, then it needs to be adjusted. It looks pretty good. I'm reasonably pleased with that. Alright, repeat process. Again, I say this, I'm inviting disaster, but I'm not terribly worried about these falling off, flopping off like the other ones were so prone to, because, again, lots of surface area for glue, not a lot of surface area, or mass for that matter, the fin itself, certainly relative to the amount of glue that is holding it in place. So, fingers crossed. Ooh, I am dripping glue out the bottom of this. I really need to investigate why. Yeah. I'll have to deal with that in a moment, but my fillet there is kind of leaking, the motor mount fillet. So that I need to clean up like as soon as I can, which unfortunately is not right now because my hands are literally full. At least one of them is. So we will deal with that in a moment. That is probably not that big a deal, but I would like to clean things up just on general principle. It would be nice to not have glue blobs along the side. In theory, I probably should not have, oops, my wrist in it. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have allowed the fillet to be facing the wrong way, and in fact, we should probably deal with that. We could flip it. There. Problem solved. No, not really. Temporary fix. We'll do that. We'll do that from here on. Alright, so again, attaching, same basic deal. Line up the bottom, and then roll the top forward. Alignment is pretty close there. Looks pretty good there. Yeah, I don't even feel like I really need to hold this very long. That glue, it really feels like it's biting, it's setting almost immediately, which is nice. Okay, check alignment. That's actually pretty good. I don't think it really needs much, if anything. I'll double check it though. It looks alright. Alright, let's deal with this drip coming down. Yeah, you can see right there. That I don't want. So I'm going to try to just spread it out. I don't think, I can get my little finger in there a little bit. I think that was the only spot. So yeah, we will stand it vertically to avoid that happening again. Really should have done that in the first place. Oh well. Unfortunately, that it's the mess isn't really the issue. It's that whatever that glue that dripped out isn't there to make the fillet anymore. So, that's the real problem. I mean, nobody's gonna inspect that part of the rocket and be like, well, this isn't a very good build because your fillet is pretty ugly. I mean, maybe, I guess, if you're entering things in a contest, but I am not entering things in a contest. I'm building this for fun. One thing worth mentioning too is I really want to make sure that these fins are all actually like lined up at the back with each other. I'm not 100% that these two are. I should probably check that before I do a whole lot else and the glue really starts to set. I did mark them all off at 4 inches, but I may not have been as accurate as I could have. And even if I was pretty accurate, that doesn't mean that they are all exactly where they should be. And that would be noticeable. And it will have an effect on the rocket. If the lead fins are staggered, then it's going to affect the aerodynamics. I think, yeah, they look fine. I think it was just the perspective I was looking at. It's also possible too that this one is a little longer than this one, but they look okay. All right, continuing on. Let's get this in my 2 hands so I can align it well. Okay, roll it forward. So yeah, when this is all set in place, I am gonna do my usual business with filling in the wood grain with a variety of different products. And I definitely need to make sure I get the edges of this, because some of these, I did sand them, but not very much apparently, because some of them look pretty ragged. Alright, alignment check. Yep, not aligned. Needs to come a little more vertical. There we go, like that. Looks pretty good. Just make sure I didn't bump anything on the other ones. Oh dear. Well, I just definitely bumped that one with my thumb. Let's just make sure I didn't knock it out of alignment entirely. Yeah, that was clumsy. No. Okay. Better. Ooh, the back is actually lifted up a little bit. I don't like that. Well, I think that is not going to be something I can correct, because I think that's an error in my fin construction, so that is going to have to get covered up by a fillet. Alright, one more. Speaking of fillets, I did put fillets on the main fins after I did my alignment check, and as I said, it was actually, the alignment was pretty good, considering all the consternation of getting the stupid fins on properly. And so I put fillets on afterwards, and I did let them dry for a few hours before doing this. You could, of course, put all the fillets on at the same time, but I wanted to put the fillets on for strength of those back ones, just because I didn't, well, that fourth fin, I really still don't particularly trust it. Although at this point, honestly, I'm not sure which one it is, because they're all fairly well attached at this point. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me, but who knows. So after this, though, the construction phase will basically be done. So that's exciting. You'll have the rocket basically assembled, and then it'll just be a matter of presentation. I am definitely going to use multiple passes of my wood fill and sanding sealer on this guy, because I actually want this one to look really nice. Not that I am in an unhealthy, relationship with my father, but I do want to make mine look better than his, because I don't know. I've had a lot more practice than he did when he made his all the way back in 1988 or whenever it was. Alright. It's kind of hard to see. Now it's passable, and then forward. A little bit of glue here. It's because there's a decent amount of glue on my hands. I'm going to try to scratch that off now before it becomes a permanent feature. Great. Alright, smooth out the glue. Same deal here. Oh, I just moved it. Shoot. Oh, that's unfortunate. The front end didn't move at all. The back end... Yeah. Alright, better. Yeah, I'm adding glue. Don't want to do that. Alright, alignment check. Looks... Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, that's it for construction then. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, and then I'm going to put fillets on it. I don't really need to do that on camera. So fillets are just going to go on the lead fins, as I've already done. I did the launch lugs too. That was actually a pretty good idea, honestly, because this one would be pretty hard to get to right now. The back one was a pain to get to as well. But it's fine now. Alright, so it's going to sit for a little bit like that, upside down, and then I will let it, I'll probably flip it back over in like half an hour or so once I'm confident the motor mount is in there. It's not going to drip anymore. And then it'll be finishing time, or at least the beginning of it. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.